The rain-slicked streets of New York City gleamed under the neon lights. But inside me, a storm was raging. I stood outside the sleek glass tower of Vanguard Enterprises, clutching my portfolio, my heart pounding like a drum solo. Today, I'd face Ethan Caldwell, me boss, my tormentor, my impossible crush. I'd been a graphic designer at Vanguard for 6 months, a nobody in a sea of corporate sharks. Ethan, the company's golden boy CEO, was everything I wasn't: polished, commanding, and untouchably straight. At 34, he was a legend, ruthless in boardrooms, charming in interviews, and married to a model named Vanessa who looked like she'd stepped out of a perfume ad. I was 26, a scrappy kid from Brooklyn with paint-stained jeans and a secret I buried deeper than the subway tunnels. I was in love with him. It wasn't just his chiseled jaw or the way his tailored suits hugged his frame. It was the rare moments when he'd linger at my desk, praising my designs with a half-smile, or when his eyes softened during late-night work sessions that made me believe there was more to him than the world saw. But I was delusional. He was off-limits, a straight man with a perfect life. I was just Caleb, the guy who doodled his feelings in sketchbooks he'd never show anyone. That night, everything changed. The office was buzzing with the annual gala, a glitzy affair at a rooftop bar overlooking Manhattan. I wasn't supposed to be there. Junior staff rarely got invites, but Ethan had insisted, saying my latest campaign deserved a toast. I arrived in my best and only blazer, feeling like an imposter among champagne flutes and designer dresses. Ethan was there, of course, a vision in a navy suit, laughing with clients. Vanessa was on his arm, her smile as sharp as a blade. I stayed in the shadows, nursing a whiskey, sketching the skyline in my notebook to keep my hands busy. Nice view. Huh? His voice startled me. Ethan stood beside me, his tie loosened, a glass of red wine in hand. Up close, his eyes were storm gray, flecked with gold. I stammered something about the city lights, my cheeks burning. He chuckled, leaning against the railing, closer than he'd ever been. You're always hiding, Caleb. Why is that? I shrugged, my throat tight. Just not a gala guy, I guess. He tilted his head, studying me. You're more than you let on. I see it in your work. There's passion there. The word hung between us, heavy and dangerous. I laughed it off, but my pulse was a runaway train. Hours later, the crowd thinned, and the bar grew hazy with music and laughter. Ethan was still there, unusually alone, his wineglass empty. Vanessa had left early, some fashion event. He said, I don't know why I stayed, why I kept refilling my drink. But soon we were the last ones at the bar, trading stories about college pranks and bad first jobs. He was different, unguarded, his laugh warm and real. The whiskey made me bold, and when he asked about my sketchbook, I slid it across the table. He flipped through it, his fingers tracing my drawings of cityscapes, faces, and God help me, a sketch of him, mid-laugh, from a late-night meeting. His eyes widened, and I braced for judgment. Instead, he said softly, You see me, don't you? I froze. I just draw what I see. He leaned closer, his voice low. No one's ever seen me like this. The air crackled, and before I could process it, his hand brushed mine. It wasn't an accident. My heart stopped as his fingers lingered, warm and deliberate. Caleb, he whispered. What are we doing? I didn't have an answer. The world tilted, and suddenly his lips were on mine, hesitant, then urgent, tasting of wine and regret. The kiss was a wildfire, consuming every rational thought. We stumbled into a shadowed corner, his hands gripping my jacket, my fingers in his hair. It was reckless, wrong, and the most alive I'd ever felt. When we pulled apart, his face was a map of conflict, desire warring with fear. I've never, he stammered, stepping back. This can't happen. He was gone before I could speak, leaving me with the echo of his touch and a sinking dread. I'd crossed a line, and there was no going back. The next morning, the office was a minefield. Ethan avoided me, his emails curt, his door closed. I buried myself in work, but every glance at his office window was a knife to the chest. Had I imagined the heat in his eyes? The way he'd kissed me like he was drowning. By noon, I was a wreck, my sketches a mess of jagged lines. Then came the meeting. Ethan called the design team in, his face a mask of professionalism. He praised my latest project, but his eyes never met mine. Afterward, he asked me to stay. The room emptied, and the silence was suffocating. Caleb, he said, his voice tight. Last night was a mistake. I was drunk. It didn't mean anything. The words hit like a punch. I nodded, my throat burning, and left without a word. But his eyes, those damn gray eyes, told a different story, flickering with something he wouldn't name. Days turned into weeks, and the distance grew. I threw myself into my art, staying late to avoid my empty apartment. Ethan was everywhere, in TV, in boardrooms, with Vanessa at events. Each sighting was a reminder of what I couldn't have. But late at night, when the office was quiet, I'd catch him watching me from his doorway, his expression unreadable. Then came the project that changed everything. Vanguard landed a major client, a nonprofit pushing for LGBTQ+ rights. Ethan assigned me to lead the campaign, citing my unique perspective. I wanted to laugh. Did he know? Had he guessed? I poured my soul into the designs, creating bold visuals that screamed acceptance and defiance. The client loved it, and for the first time in weeks, Ethan called me into his office. Your work, he said, holding up a poster of two hands clasped against a rainbow backdrop. It's powerful. It's personal. He hesitated, then added, I'm proud of you. I should have left it there, but the whiskey courage from that night still lingered. Why did you kiss me? I blurted. His face paled, but I pressed on. You can't just pretend it didn't happen. Ethan, I felt it. You felt it. He stood, pacing, his hands raking through his hair. I'm married. Caleb. I have a life, a reputation. I can't. He stopped, his voice breaking. You don't understand how much I want to. My heart cracked open. Then why push me away? Because I'm terrified, he admitted, his eyes raw. I've never felt like this. Not with Vanessa. Not with anyone. But this, it could ruin everything. I stepped closer. Reckless again. Or it could be everything. For a moment, I thought he'd kiss me again. But he turned away, his shoulders rigid. You should go, he said. And I did, carrying the weight of his confession like a stone. The campaign launch was a whirlwind. The nonprofit's gala was packed with activists, celebrities, and donors, all raving about my designs. I stood in the crowd, a glass of champagne in hand, feeling like I'd finally made my mark. But Ethan was there, too, with Vanessa, their perfect couple act on full display. Every smile he gave her was a dagger, yet I couldn't look away. As the night wore on, I slipped onto the balcony for air. The city stretched out below, a glittering maze of possibilities. I didn't hear Ethan approach until he spoke. "You did good tonight, Caleb. You belong here." I turned, my anger flaring. "Do I? Because it feels like I'm just your secret." He flinched, his jaw tight. "You think this is easy for me? I'm trying to do the right thing." "The right thing?" I snapped. "For who? Vanessa? Your image? Or the guy you kissed and then threw away?" His eyes blazed, and before I could react, he pulled me into a kiss fierce, desperate, a collision of need and frustration. When we broke apart, he was shaking. "I'm leaving her," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "I can't keep lying to her. To myself. I don't know what this means, Caleb, but I know I can't lose you." My world spun. This was everything I'd wanted, yet it terrified me. "What now?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I want to find out. With you." We stood there, the city humming below, two men on the edge of something impossible. The road ahead was uncertain as divorce, the gossip, the risk to his career and mine. But in that moment, his hand in mine, I felt a truth stronger than fear. Love, real and raw, was worth fighting for. The gala's lights flickered, and I knew this was only the beginning. We'd face judgment, doubt, and maybe heartbreak. But as Ethan squeezed my hand, his eyes steady with resolve, I believed we could rewrite the rules together.